Well, James, we never got back any of our stuff. Those A-words got away with their heist, and a bunch of resellers are swimming in dough because of our strict collecting regimen.
Except the guys that got our Mario Paint copies. They'll probably just sell them for the same $5 we bought each one. But yeah, what a horrible month that was for us.
All of our retro games are gone.
Don't forget the rest of our physical games.
Our systems.
And our guides and magazines.
So, what do we do now?
Well, we could play some more recent games. You know, like ones that released in the last 6 months.
Then we do the rapid-fire reviews for each one?
Yep.
Wait, did you just trick me into starting up James and Andy's half-year review of all the games we've played so far in 2022? Why do you feel the need to trick me? We prepare for these every year. We train and go through draft after draft. This is an involved process. Why trick me?
That's right, Andy. Now let's go!
Are you really ignoring my cadence right now? What? Are you waiting for me to review our rules for this show? Rules like only games we played a significant portion of or completed, games that came out so far in 2022, and games we haven't reviewed already separately? Is that what you want to hear?
You said it, Andy. Let's begin. Tunic is a 2D platforming adventure game where you play as a Viking as he ruthlessly slaughters any and all wildlife on his quest to acquire 4 magic runes to save his sickly beloved. You'll be adorable and take on adorable enemies, somewhat menacing bosses, and sometimes you'll even sink into the ground.
That looks like a tech issue.
Or in being pulled slowly into hell.
You have a few more years in you.
That's uplifting. Anyway, Tunic is a very poppy, very fun game that will not hold your attention very long, but not for a bad reason. It's very short. It's under 3 hours long even for a 100% playthrough. Give Tunic a try if you want a great-looking, well-controlled short adventure game to cap off your day.
There's no way you played this one for a significant portion of time. It only has 1 mode and 4 characters and nearly 10 achievements. What constitutes a significant portion of time for such a small amount of content?
Hai is, at its core, a bullet hell where you will dodge enemies and their projectiles until the character you chose can attack. Some have to wait for this bar to fill, others can attack whenever they want. As soon as you feel the want or need, hold left click down and draw a line through your enemies and their projectiles.
You then unleash several devastating blows to your enemies that leave them in pieces.
You compete for the highest score in the leaderboards and up your combos to complete achievements to unlock another character. All in all, it's a fine game, but it really didn't hold my attention for very long.
Yeah, competing for high scores seems like a hollow victory, specifically for the difficulty placed on getting a score that high. Hats off to those at the top.
You ever wanted to play a game about a spherical robot venturing through incredibly dangerous environments, fighting off things like evil bolts and tires while trying to discover the source of the virus that's infecting all currently living AI?
I've never asked myself any question that specific.
Then Haiku the Robot is for you.
Again, never asked myself a question in quite that way.
You, as Haiku, will travel a world infected by a rapidly worsening virus that will turn robots evil, threaten currently living AI, and send you on an adventure to find the mystery that caused it all.
This game has the look and feel of a great 2D Metroid game, and even lets you roll into a ball to reach new areas. Collectibles are aplenty, and death will only cost you a few bolts, this game's measure of currency. Upgrades are incredibly useful as well, and can do anything from increasing your bolt yield per battle to lowering the cost of stamina your other abilities use.
This is one of the best Metroidvanias, still a dumb word, that I've ever played. There were only 2 points at which I felt the challenge was reaching too far above my current skill level, and both were endgame, where your skills are meant to be tested. Enemies are fun to fight, bosses are challenging but not overly so, and 100%ing the game is streamlined and straightforward. This may be one of my favorite games of the year, and I look forward to what comes next for Haiku and its developer.
Well, this was a refreshing experience, one that really set a standard for the next Castlevania-likes I'll give my attention to. I'm not a huge fan of these types of games, striving only to play the best of the best on occasion, but this one really surprised me. The differing weapon types, the sheer varieties of enemies, the challenge each boss posed, the spirit system, it all works together so well on the carousel. There's only one factor that breaks the whole game down, and it comes right at the very end.
We may have no idea what the record of Lodoss War story is, where this falls on the timeline, and have zero familiarity with any of the characters, but we can appreciate the gorgeous animation, the awesome abilities, and the bow. The bow is godlike. It will act as your secondary and can be changed depending on the type of bow you equip. Shoot 3 shots, 5 shots, shoot a homing shot, shoot flaming arrows. This thing is fucking great.
The final mechanic worth mention is the healing system. In most of these types of games, you'd need a grocery store's worth of healing items safely tucked away in your wormhole of a pocket. But here, you simply need to power your blue or orange spirit bar up to 3, and then switch to it when low on health at any point. Sure, you heal slow, but it's 10 times better than having to buy out every potion at the shop every time you stumble upon it.
Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth is an excellent game. My absolute only complaint is that it's short, a 5-hour game at best, even if all secrets are hunted for. I would have loved another level or two to explore, but that's just me. I'll be honest, I approached this one with a lot of caution as I am not a fan of destroying previously established formulas and systems in favor of open world ones. Zelda tried it, now Pokemon. Graphics be damned, I was wrong in this case.
It still does the whole save the world, but find 7 flowers type gameplay where the urgency is absolutely demolished by a seemingly endless list of things to do, meaning we will never, ever feel any type of need to move the story along as long as there are extra things to do, making the story basically pointless.
Shut your blasphemous mouth and look at my fucking Pokemon. They interact with the world, they eat grass and stare longingly into a river, they get pissed when I throw berries at them.
Just like the real jaded thing.
While we have definitely not played what others would consider a significant portion of the game, I'm having a fucking ball exploring each new area until an alpha Pokemon fucking curb stomps me to remind me how far into an area I'm allowed to go.
Is this a good representation of what we can expect from Scarlet and Violet later in the year? Who knows? Is this yet another representation of the new ways you can make your favorite Pokemon fight each other to the death? Absolutely. Well, here's something we never thought we'd say. You guys played that new Game Boy game?
Technically not new, but yeah, we've played it.
Indestructo Tank is an infamous tank-based left-to-right scrolling game where it is the player's goal to bounce on enemies, accruing points by doing so, to fill each level's point bar. Soon as that bar is filled, touch the ground and use the points earned to purchase higher frequencies of enemies appearing and new enemies.
The challenge comes in when trying to land in the latter half of the game. You have a set amount of time you can spend between level up bar fill-ups and time ticks away fast. The only way you can capitalize on refills is by touching the ground. Trying to do that while homing missiles, barrages, and the several helicopters and ground-based artillery vehicles are on screen is hard, man.
Not only is this game back in the spotlight today, you can play it on your very own Game Boy right now through Incubate Games. It even comes in a box with a manual explaining the controls. This is a neat little project that still feels strange to hold in a day and age where you can sit on your toilet playing Smash Bros with 2 detached Joy-Cons while the TV is in the other room and you have to crane your neck to see what you're doing.
Truly, these are better times. Before we start this one, I must concede a point to this game. It is beautiful. Every page, enemy, character, town, event, story element just pops because it's all told in the same way a bedtime story would be. It all fits so perfectly together on screen, so easily understood. I love the look of this.
That said, the rest of the game is a very lukewarm experience. Turn-based combat with very little intuition in it, story elements the player can see coming miles away, and characters as interesting as planks of wood. Just like a real bedtime story!
You are you.
Yes, I am me.
No, I mean you take control of you.
I'm fairly in control of myself at all hours of the day, James.
I mean the main character's name is you. Why you?
Oh, continue.
Yu is the daughter of a great hero that went toe-to-toe with the Beast King, but ultimately succumbed to his injuries. The Beast King, now the Dragon King, took guardianship of Yu after the hero's passing as they became friends in his final moments. Which is a bit odd, but for the sake of the story and how the Beast King's power works, makes sense.
The standard RPG plays out where you'll enter towns, fight enemies, help NPCs, earn and lose battle partners, solve mysteries, and murder. Unfortunately, while this all sounds like a 40-hour gameplay experience, it can be easily trimmed to 10. If you skip the padding.
Nearly all quests, side and main, have a large amount of padding in them and are very poorly paced. The amount of side quests to do after each chapter is very poorly balanced, with a handful to do after the first few chapters and dozens to do after clearing the last few. Several of these side quests could be absolutely avoided if certain areas had what was intended to be there upon entering the first time. There are several areas in the game that seem like dead ends at first, but when the correct side quest is activated will suddenly have an important thing in it, forcing the player to retread the same ground.
That would cut the side quest runtime in half. Also, there's a lot of enemies in this game with one-hit kill attacks. Most happen by RNG alone, meaning you could get wiped by a secret enemy with the move Killer Bite.
The Cruel King and the Great Hero is a fine game, visually arresting and certainly fits the style of a bedtime story, but that won't save it from becoming another standard RPG with very little to do outside the standard RPG things. It would be nice to receive another game in the same vein about the original hero, perhaps with more mechanics and better pacing.
And now, our final game of the video, Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
I may not have played a lot of Kirby games in my lifetime, but this one is by far one of my favorites ever. Perhaps one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah, you were in the player 1 seat the whole time. Try sitting all the way back here in the player 2 peanut gallery. No armrests, no cushions, popcorn we have to pick out of the seats, and no possibility of upgrades. Alright, I'm exaggerating, but it still wasn't nearly as fun as Player 1.
In a long-standing series like Kirby, there are series staples that were just removed altogether for this iteration of our favorite pink demon spawn. Powers, abilities, descriptions of what each power can do on the pause menu, and no spear.
What's up with that? Player 2's Bandana D character is the only thing in the game with the spear ability. Otherwise, there's no other way to get it, and there's no way to upgrade it either. It really makes me think Player 2 should have just been another Kirby who can share in Player 1's abilities.
Yeah, for what a complete experience it was, there was a great deal missing from the game. Even so, it is a gorgeous and easy to play experience that is easily one of my favorite games of the year. From the several mini-games that both players can participate in to the extra challenges that are peppered throughout the game. The variety of worlds and levels to explore and secrets to find all culminate in a game that will have you drooling from beginning to end.
If you're Player 1.
What if you're Player 2?
Someone will drool on you.
On that disgusting note, that covers all the games we played in the first half of the year. What did you think of the games we covered? Let us know in the comments. Also be sure to follow us for more great content. Alright. Bye. Great content right there. Follow us for that. Thanks, Andy.
No problem. Hey, what can I say? I live